Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Thursday, the 3rd of April. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How's it going, Chris?
All good. We are at press conference day. Rangers obviously back at Ibrox this weekend, and it wouldn't be Barry Ferguson later on, as we've just been discussing off air there. Neil McCann set to take the press conference later just for a wee change, and there'll also be a player interview as well. So keep your eyes peeled across all of our various channels for full coverage of that later on.
Yeah, it'd be good to hear from Neil. He always talks well, talks a good game, of course, also. So, he always will be interesting to hear what he has to say ahead of that game against Hibs. This must be a new thing where they've brought the press conference forward. I know they did it last week because they were travelling up to St Andrews ahead of the Dundee game, but perhaps this is something that Barry is looking to do going forward. No issue with that, incidentally. I do like my Fridays to be a bit more relaxed. Would you say the same, Chris?
I actually had the same conversation with someone from the club the other day there, and I was saying I'm not moaning in the slightest. If you do the Friday presser, sometimes the player interview can kind of get a bit lost, if you like, because obviously for so much of the season the focus has been on what Clement was saying. The player stuff in the grand scheme of things didn't really make any waves. Also, the last few weeks, everything that Barry says has carried its own sense of purpose and sense of importance. And the player stuff again hasn't really made the impact. So I think last week it worked well. Barry obviously had to say first in the live section, and Jack Butland then also gave a really good interview about life under Alan McGregor and his season. So I think it works. I think it works well for all parties, and as you say, it makes Friday slightly less hectic for us, which of course is the most important thing in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely is. Before we talk all things Rangers, folks, just a quick word, as ever, for our podcast sponsors, S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to S1 Jobs and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh and the surrounding areas, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Right, where shall we start? Well, first of all, I think when I was on with Joshua the other day there, thank you to John who messages in. Someone was asking who replaces Diomande against Bilbao. Of course, he's suspended, and I was thinking there's another player that's suspended. I was sure I couldn't quite remember who it was, but John gets in touch. Morning, lads. Following on from yesterday, I think it's Souttar who's missing against Bilbao. It is John, which will be a big loss, of course. Just before we get into the news, Chris, what's your thoughts on that? Who replaces Diomande? Who replaces John Souttar, do you reckon?
That's two big players for this side, and certainly in the system that we believe Barry will now stick with for that game. Both of them have been so impressive in it, so important in it. You look at, is it a big call to put someone like Billy Rice in ahead of other more experienced midfielders? I think that the man we're about to come on and talk about, Tom Lawrence, I think he will fancy his chance, and that's relying on obviously Barron and Raskin getting through this weekend unscathed. It's certainly a real blow at the back. You'd imagine Barry will go for experience and go for Robin Proper. In the midfield, it's slightly different. I don't think anyone can do that job as well as Diomande. John Sterling, definitely an option in there, but he might be required elsewhere. There's every chance he's going to be required at right back again if Tav plays one of those three centre half roles. So certainly an issue for Barry, and takes a wee bit of the. I think people already know that this is going to be a very difficult tie for Rangers. That certainly adds to it. Certainly for this first game coming up.
Yeah, lots of suggestions coming in. Bluebells are Blue says Rice in for Dio for him. Probably going to be Lawrence though. Yeah, I think Lawrence would just get the nod. Barry seems to like Tom Lawrence, who made a difference at the weekend as well. But there's no doubt about it. It's going to be a big blow, losing the pair of them. It sort of sticks in the craw a little bit that it was a dive for Diomande. I think it was a very harsh on John Souttar as well. Fenerbahce players diving all over the shop. But there you go. Rangers are going to have to do without those two. Another thing as well I want UEFA to sort out is they should be wiping the yellow cards after the group stage of this competition. They should not be allowed just to carry on. I mean, what is that all about? So if you are watching, whoever the UEFA administration or administrators are, sort it out, because this is an absolute nonsense. So there you go. That leads us nicely on to Tom Lawrence, Chris. Newspaper reports, a number of publications saying that Wrexham are keen on Tom Lawrence. He is out of contract in the summer. It's also thought a number of other clubs down south and even abroad are keeping tabs on his situation. I would be surprised if he was offered a new deal at Rangers. I think that a new deal would have been offered to him before now. You could say that the fact that Rangers don't have a permanent manager in place could be a factor in that. I actually think he's been playing pretty well in the times that we've seen him recently under Barry. Scored that brilliant goal at the weekend. Scored a decisive penalty against Fenerbahce as well. As we touched on there, I expect him to play against Athletic Bilbao. I think his Rangers career may be coming to an end, Chris.
I would imagine so. I don't think there'll be a huge clamour from the support for a deal to be done for Tom Lawrence, and that may sound harsh, but I think Rangers just need to go a different direction come this summer. We spoke the other day there about every area of this side requiring an upgrade and improvement, and Tom Lawrence has just fallen into that category of someone who can be allowed to move on, won't make a massive impact in terms of losing a starting 11 player, because for me he's not a starting 11 player, and your squad players have to be of a higher calibre. You also look at age and wage and that type of thing obviously come into it as well. So I think there's, if you had to line all the pros and cons up, you would look at a player of good experience, obviously international experience, got himself back into the Wales squad of late. He offers a goal threat, as we saw at Dens Park. He offers something different than perhaps other midfielders. But I think on the flip side, there's probably more cons, I say, in terms of his age, his wages, general profile. There's obviously injury issues as well. So I think he will definitely be one that moves on. And it's been a really kind of roller coaster of Rangers' career. There's been some really good moments in there. There's been some really poor moments in there. Also had some real difficulties with injuries as well. So I think it's probably time for him to move on, and all parties to go in a different direction. And that Wrexham link first came up during the January window. I think there's a bit of talk about Wrexham potentially being interested. I think, all things considered, I think that would be a good move for him.
Yeah, it would be. Wrexham, of course, looking to be promoted to the Championship this season. They're in with a shout of automatic promotion, and I think that I could see him doing well down there. But let's hope he has a bit of a swan song for Rangers in the remaining games, particularly in this double header against Bilbao. But yeah, like I said, I think he's performed pretty well, and since he's came back into the team, touch wood, he steers clear of injury, because it has been an issue for him ever since he came up to the club in the first place under Giovanni van Bronckhorst. This is an interesting point just on who could potentially take Diamande's place. Bluebells or Blue says, what about Bayrami? Played well there against Celtic. Almost a forgotten man a little bit, Chris. He's someone... he's flattered to deceive, shall we say. Apart from those two Old Firm matches where he did a job, he's produced very little.
The fact, when you asked me that question, I was running through the midfield options in my head, and Bayrami never even didn't even come into my consideration there. I think people who have watched enough of the shows over the course of the season will probably know by now that I'm not Nadeem Bayrami's biggest fan. Flattered to deceive probably sums up his Rangers career, as you said there, Derek. I don't think he's been anywhere near the level required. I don't think he's offered anywhere near enough for a position that Rangers had to get right last summer. A lot of talk about it last summer, the need for a number 10, the need for a real improvement in that number 10 area, given the way that the side was going to set up. He's never looked like being the option or being the solution to that particular problem. And if we fast forward a couple of months, you look ahead to the summer. For me, he's one that you try and get your money back on. You move on and you go and try and reinvest. Also, we don't know who the manager's going to be, what his style is going to be, whether he will want to try and operate with a number 10, whether he's going to try and have a different system. But I think regardless of whether Barami has played at 10, whether he's played off that left hand side, just not offered enough for me.
Yep, I'd be looking to get my money back as well in the summertime. Who knows? A change of manager, if it's not Barry, it might get the best out of him. But I've not been overly impressed with what I've seen so far from him at this point. Michael says, Barami is another Oleg Salenko, played well at international tournaments, so we signed him and is grim. Yeah, Oleg Salenko, remember him? I think he was a joint top goal scorer at USA 94. I think he scored 5 goals in a 6-1 win for Russia against Cameroon. It came to Rangers and it looked like he was towing a caravan. But less said about him, the better. Let's move on then, because you've got a great piece on the website this morning, Chris, on Danilo, another player, almost the forgotten man. He did come off the bench at the weekend and made an impact. He's someone we're all rooting for, I think. We all want to see him in that Rangers team and playing well. But as we touched on with Florence there, he's been really hamstrung with injury since he arrived at the club. Really unfortunate with some of the injuries that he's picked up. Never really had a consistent run of games. Good player, but we don't see enough of him. These remaining fixtures, is it make or break for him, do you reckon?
I think so. I think he will be looking at this next handful of domestic games, and certainly the European tie. He needs to find a spark. He needs to find something to really give himself a jolt in terms of his Rangers career. I make the point in that piece last couple of games for Rangers. Dessers has had his big moment. He gets that last minute winner. Igaman has had his big moment. He gets the winner at Parkhead. You're going back a long time before you think of a real kind of game-changing moment from Danilo that's going to be fondly remembered. I think there is a player in there. I think there's something that Rangers can work on. I think there's a player that can be a useful part of a Rangers squad. But the argument, which I completely get, people will make, is he costs £6 million. He's not going to be a small earner in that squad. Is he offering enough just to be your number 2, number 3 striker? And if you're Danilo, is that role of being potentially number 2, number 3 striker, is that what you want at this stage of your career? You're 25. You should be coming into your best years, the years where you're going to go and play at the highest level and score your biggest amounts of goals. In the last couple of seasons, it's just never really got going for him. Injury-wise, I know we see it on the channel, we see it on social media a lot, this thing of he's made of glass, he's injury-prone, get rid. I don't really buy into that. I think he has been really unfortunate injury-wise. The
face one was a nightmare.
The one that he sustained up at McDermott Park, he can go in for that ball and score that goal 99 times out of 100, and he comes away and he celebrates. It just so happened on that time he got a really bad blow that then keeps him out on an afternoon where it looked like he played well before that, gets his goal, and you're thinking this could be one of these afternoons for him. Housley has that period out injured, works his way back into the side, then has that really unfortunate knee injury, obviously ruins the rest of his season. His injuries this season against a couple of impact ones, a kind of innocuous thing in training, and then keeps him out. He's then had a shoulder issue against Aberdeen. Again, just one of these things. So it's not a case of he continually picks up a certain type of injury and he's got an underlying issue there in his thigh or his hamstring, or there's a foot problem there. It's different types of contact injuries, and some players can just be unlucky. And I think Danilo will probably look back at his almost 2 seasons now and say he has been unlucky. That gets you so far. Ultimately, Rangers need a return for their investment, and they need to see in these next few weeks what he can offer. Because going into the summer, there's going to be talk about Dessers once again. There's going to be a lot of talk about Igaman after the season that he has had. There will be conversation about Danilo. I think his situation is different to the other two, but we really need to see these next few weeks. What can he offer? What can he bring to this Rangers side? And for me, Saturday looks like an ideal chance to give him a game, play him in that number 9 role, allow players to try and create work off him, and try and get him a goal just to give him a bit of confidence. I don't think he starts next week against Bilbao. I'd be surprised. He could come in on Saturday against Hibs and play really, really well. Probably still doesn't start next week. So he has to look at the domestic fixtures round about these 2 European ties. They feel like a good opportunity for Danilo. If Barry wants to give him those opportunities, great. If he doesn't, then I think his season is kind of heading towards a rather lacklustre end, unfortunately.
Yeah, he'll be very frustrated. He'll want to play games. Seen how frustrated he was, of course, when he was about to come on against Fenerbahce in that game before Černý miraculously jumped up when the thought of him being replaced. And he was told to sit back down. DP89 says, Danilo, Dessers and Igaman for next season is absolutely fine for me. Maybe low and bring in another just to back them. I think Igaman's an interesting one. I would like to see him stay at least another season at Rangers to develop further, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there was a big money offer for him in the summertime. Dessers, complete opposite to Danilo with regards to availability. He's robust. He's been not injured. I can't even recall one injury. That I think he's been out for a period of time, but nothing major. Dessers is someone I'd be keeping, Chris, unless there's a real attractive offer that is submitted to the Rangers hierarchy in the summertime. And Danilo, I don't know who's going to be bidding for him in the summer. I mean, Rangers paid, £6 million for him. Very much that team's going to come in and pay £6 million for someone that has been injured for much of the time at Rangers. But what do you make of that? Would you be quite happy to see those 3 stay next season? What's the likelihood of that, do you reckon?
Ask me again once a director of football is in, a manager is in. We know what kind of style of football he's going to play. We know what the budget's going to be. It's hard to do. Hard to say for definite what the future holds for all 3.
Yep.
I think all 3 have still have something to offer this club. Also, some more than others in terms of Igaman, just because of his age. It'll be interesting to see what happens with all 3. I think Igaman, as we've touched on there will be interest in him. You cannot not be impressed by what he's done in a Rangers jersey this season. I'd be amazed if someone doesn't have a wee sniff at him. But I think it will take your into club record levels for a fee for Igaman. Anybody that thinks like they come in and maybe try and put 8 to 10 million on the table and try and test the waters, not going to get very far. Rangers don't have to sell at that level, so the Igaman fee will be a big one. Dessers, again, it's hard to put a number on him. Danilo, really hard to put a number on him because, as you say there, he's just not played enough football. So it's interesting to see how it all unfolds. I would be surprised if that's the Rangers front 3 heading into next season. Put it that way.
Lots of comments coming in, as you can imagine, on that. Well, first of all, Blue Nose John, always like being corrected on the show. He says, I spoke to a Moroccan colleague yesterday about Igaman. He said, phonetically, his name is pronounced Igaman. So there you go, folks. Hamza Igaman is how we should be saying his name. Just on the prospect of Cyril Dessers staying for next season. Kev gets in touch. I can't watch Dessers for another season. I get where you're coming from there, Kev, but listen, he's a bags man, as the kids like to say at this point. His numbers are good. I know he frustrates the life out of people, but I like Cyril Dessers, and like I said earlier on, I wouldn't be looking to get rid unless there is a real substantial amount of money being put on the table for him. And someone actually mentioned in the YouTube comments the other day there, he should, about his goal record, 45 goals in 100 appearances. Someone said he should have 100 goals, if not more than 100 goals in 100 appearances. He wouldn't be at Rangers if he was scoring that, Chris.
And I think he said that himself a couple of months ago, didn't he? It provoked a bit of reaction. It's easy to say, but strikers simply don't take every single chance that comes their way. Now, Cyril perhaps misses more than his fair share. His record should be a whole lot better, and if it was better, if his conversion rate was higher, what difference could that have made over the course of the last couple of seasons? Rangers may not have been in a trophyless situation that they are once again. But he is what he is. He's done what he's done, and I think if you look at his return purely in terms of the numbers, purely in black and white, he can easily say, "I've held up my end of the bargain once again." Well, where has the support been round about? I think Dessers at times he has been an issue. Of course, he has been an issue because he has missed a number of chances, but he was never going to take every single chance that comes his way. He was never going to have a 90 to 100% conversion rate. As Heather says, they are 45 goals in 100 games. That's not been the biggest issue for Rangers over the course of the last couple of seasons. There's been midfield issues, there's been defensive issues, we know there's goalkeeping issues, there's been issues in terms of other players being able to chip in and prove themselves to be reliable in terms of being able to actually get on the pitch and being able to score the required numbers of goals. So Dessers, for me, he has been a problem, but he's been nowhere near the biggest one for Rangers over these last couple of seasons. And as they come the end of the campaign, he'll be able to say, "I've done my bit once again." And I think personally he can be fairly pleased, but we speak a lot about his mentality. I think he will be pleased with what he's been able to do personally. In terms of the goals that he scored, he will be as frustrated as anyone at the chances that he's missed, and be as frustrated as anyone at the fact that Rangers have once again not won anything this season. I think we talk about players that get it, that understand it, that buy into this club and the demands and the standards. I think Cyril certainly falls into that.
Yep, a few comments coming in. Bills Blue says Chris Boyd should have played for Real Madrid then. Such a nonsense argument. Big Boyd at Real Madrid. I think they missed a trick, not putting a bid in for Chris Boyd. Scott with the point, how old was Caniggia when we signed him? I think he was 33 at the time when Rangers acquired him. Some folks say, look at his age, but I don't necessarily look at that. If he's doing the biz, then that's it. People look at that with regards to resale and trying to get value for money back on a player. But my argument would be if he's doing the business, if he's keeping himself in shape, then I wouldn't be chasing them out the door. Two players that will be heading out the door, Chris, are the Birmingham duo, Kieran Dowell and Ben Davies, you'd imagine. Peggy raises the point. Do you think our boys down at Birmingham City will get a permanent move? Ties in, I spoke to a Birmingham City podcaster yesterday. Great wee chat with Matthew from the We Are Birmingham podcast, and they are pretty happy with the pair of them down there, especially Dowell. Very keen on getting a permanent move for him sorted. Chris Davis, the manager, loves him apparently. The Birmingham City fans love him. Scored a no-look penalty apparently as well, Kieran Dowell. So confidence oozing through his veins down there. But Davis as well is another one. He's been a permanent fixture in that defence. One criticism that Matthew said was it should be more aerially dominant in the opposition box, and they have brought in a right-footed, left-sided centre-back. So he's not too sure whether Davis will get as much game time as he has done this season. So I think that one's more up in the air. The pair of them, though, Chris, I'd be very surprised if they're Rangers players next season.
Very, very. Add in as many varies to that sentence as you like to see how surprised would be. They're not going to have a future up here. It's not worked out for either of them. I think it's safe to. Sounds a bit disrespectful to say they've found their level, because I think they could both do a job in the Championship. I think League One is not quite below them, but it's no surprise that they've gone into clearly a side that's high in confidence and playing well, and obviously as they go on and win that title this season, that entire Birmingham squad is a level above League One. They're still to prove themselves at Championship level, but I think Davies and Dell would be more than comfortable in that division next season. I actually had a big read on all three of them, if we include Scott Wright.
He's been very unfortunate with injury.
That really bad injury he picked up. I had a big read lined up, and it was all written, and it was good to go. And then the Rangers takeover news broke a couple of weeks ago. Safe to say, it wasn't quite the agenda-setting piece that I thought it would be, but we may be able to come back to it. They're also down at Wembley next Sunday for the if they're there to final
game.
So I may be able to salvage that one just yet. There's always life in old ideas, but I think it's been good for them. They've gone out, they played regularly. They played as I said there, they played in a side that's clearly full of confidence, and it's no surprise that they've gone in there and made a real impact. They were not Rangers players. They were not going to be the type of players that Rangers needed them to be, but I think they have. They seem to have really impressed down there. So hopefully they continue to enjoy their season. I don't think the Rangers fans would wish them any ill will or anything like that. In the day, it's good for them to go and see players go on and do well. So interested to see how they perform. I would imagine they'll both be championship players within that Birmingham side next season.
Yep. Just on pieces that never made the website, Ada Anamdi Offabor piece as well, all ready to rock and roll. Spoke to teammates of his, guys at Bournemouth and everything, and it was a brilliant piece actually. It was very interesting to hear what guys that knew him had to say, and then of course he was had that unfortunate news that he had to take a step back from the game, and we never seen him in a Rangers jersey. But he's another one. He's down at Swindon now, I think, and by all accounts, he's doing pretty well. So it's great to see him back playing football. But that was a piece that never seen the light of day, unfortunately. But there you go. Very much looking forward to that inside the Birmingham trio piece at some point, Chris. So keep your eyes peeled for that, folks. Rangers on Tour says, what type of money would Cifuentes, Davies and Dill bring into Rangers this summer? Cifuentes is an interesting one. We know that his team Aris over in Greece are looking to bring him in on a permanent basis. I think they're looking to haggle with a fee that Rangers are keen on. Davies under contract. Dowell, not too sure what Dowell's contract situation. I think those are more of a case of getting them off the wage bill. Davies, a couple of million perhaps. Cifuentes, if Rangers will get their money back on Jose Cifuentes. They paid just over £1 million for him. I think they're looking, well, by all accounts, looking for around about £3 million, something there or thereabouts. That could boost the coffers this summer, Chris.
I think you only have to think back to last season and the fees that Rangers ended up actually getting for a number of.
Well, the job lot 5.
To be slightly wary of putting too big. I think a different situation this season. I don't think Rangers will be quite as over a barrel into when they're going to try and sell these players. But it is still going to be a job. They do have to try and find buyers for these players. That's why it's as good for Rangers that likes of Davies and Dowell are doing well down there. Cifuentes, we had a big read on the website a couple of months ago, looking at his season and how he had at that stage really made a big impact over at Aris. So the better these players do, the better it is for Rangers ultimately, because Rangers need to try and get these guys off the wage bill, need to try and get a bit of money in terms of the budget. But again, we just at this stage we don't know what the budget's going to be and how important it's going to be to get these deals out to then allow whoever the manager is going to be to bring other players in. So very much up in the air. But I think anyone who's putting big numbers on, saying, "Oh, we'll get X, Y, and Z for X, Y, and Z," I say think back to last summer and how Rangers find themselves in a really difficult situation that summer.
I think it helps that Davies and Dill are in a Birmingham City side that are going to win the league down there and probably going to win that. I know it's the Challenge Cup up here, but if they win that trophy as well, then I think it helps. It brings them to the forefront of any interested parties' eyes, and they go, "Oh, these players that have played a lot for a Birmingham City team who have spent big bucks to get back into the Championship. They themselves, as I touched on there, I think they're very keen on signing Dowell and Davies. Remains to be seen on that one. I know he said recently, Davies, he would like to stay at Birmingham. But I don't think he'll be short of offers. He has shown that he's a very capable player down in the Championship. So, like you say, Chris, I don't want Rangers to be selling these guys short. Let's get in a bit more money than they did last summer. But we'll wrap up there. Before we go, just a reminder, folks, if you want to be in with a chance of winning that signed Paul Gascoigne framed shirt, then you need to be a subscriber to the website, where we're offering 6-month access to the site for just £1, practically giving it away. So you need to make sure you are a subscriber before the 6th of April to be in with a chance of winning that signed shirt. So head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. Right, as Chris touched on earlier, it is press conference day. We'll hear from, I was going to say Barry there, Neil McCann around about 1:30. So as ever, you'll have that on the YouTube channel, and you can read everybody has to say over on the website as well. Right, if we don't speak to you later, folks, enjoy your Thursday, whatever you are doing. And we'll chat to you a little later on. Bye for now.